Hey listeners, this is episode 87 of the Fire Rescue Wellness Podcast, where today I was joined by Tommy Gayfield, a strength and conditioning coach at South Metro Fire. So this is officially part 3 of my, as of yet unknown, number of South Metro Fire episodes. In episode 86, we heard from Kelsey Bailey, who was a dietitian contracted by South Metro. And in episode 85, we heard from Chris Macklin, who is the program coordinator. So again, Tommy Gayfield is a strength and conditioning coach, and we talked a lot about his philosophy and how the testing and assessment process goes at South Metro, and how the infrastructure that they have allows them to support the firefighters employed by the agency. I know you're really going to enjoy this episode. Please give us a rating, share the podcast with someone you know, and if you're so inclined, leave us a review on your favorite platform. Thank you for joining me on the Fire Rescue Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, AZ. I find the research and resources and then provide the fire service with the so what, now what, to ensure the health and well-being of every member of our profession. Together, let's thrive. Fire Rescue Wellness Podcast listeners, it's AZ, and we're back for another episode. And today I am with Tommy Gayfield. Say hello to the listeners.
Listeners, how you guys doing? Annette, thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited for this. And this is actually part 3 of an ongoing series with the Human Performance Optimization staff at South Metro Fire.
Yes. Quite the mouthful, but you got the HPO. You got it down.
HPO SMF. So Tommy is a strength and conditioning coach with South Metro Fire, and I'm going to start, I call these the hot, scary light bulb questions. Are you ready?
Let's go for it. Do it.
Okay. Deal. Instead of saying, like, tell me about yourself, I say, who is Tommy Gayfield?
Who is Tommy Gayfield? That is a loaded question.
Heck yes, it is.
And I'm going to give it to you straight. And one thing people always try to do is like, I am, a strength coach. Like, I don't want to ever limit myself to being like occupational or some sort of profession. I'm a lot of things. I'm a great dad. I'm an awesome husband. I think so. I think I'm a pretty good strength coach. I think I'm an awesome friend. I think I'm a cool breeze whenever you need one. I'm a great listener. I'm a person who loves to talk the talk and walk the walk. So I just want to talk it to you, or I'll make sure I give you a good demonstration of what I mean, what I'm saying, because I'm truly passionate about what I like to do as a strength coach in my field. I don't know, man. I'm faith-based. I love, dude. I guess. I guess that's about it in a nutshell. I can keep going and get in the weeds about a lot of that stuff, but that's it in a nutshell.
I am so happy right now. You called me dude. There's nothing that makes me happier.
That's just my lingo. I'm not gonna. Let's keep that in there. Like, it has no gender, no gender specifics to it.
Yes, one of my favorite coworkers. I mean, I can't say he is my favorite because that would make my other favorite coworkers sad.
Fair,
but he's like my favorite. But he always calls me. Well, he calls everyone dude, so I'm not special. But he's like, dude. So, all right, Tommy. I just recorded with another guest, and she asked me a question about my question, which now I think I'm going to have to clarify. My second question is always, what sets your soul on fire? And she said, good or bad? And I said, girl, you take that wherever you want to take it.
Oh, she was deep. I like it. She went below the surface.
Yeah.
I guess what sets my soul on fire? So I guess if I had to keep it general, is the sheer fact of literally being able to wake up and be active of each one of my limbs and be cognitively functioning appropriately. That sets my soul on fire because I love the idea of just being able to wake up, let my feet hit the floor, and just appreciate what God has given us as a gift we call life. That sets my soul on fire. Everything else, I mean, yes, I love what I do occupationally. I love being a strength coach. I love being a dad. I love being a husband. But literally just waking up so I can do those things, that is what sets my soul on fire in a good way. To that participant in your last podcast, that's a good way.
I love it. And do you want to add a bad way too? Something
Man,
that just burns your toast?
man, I really it's not too much that really burns my toast because I'm that weird dude that likes to find those in those valleys, find those hard lessons, right? Like, so if it burned me up, it probably is something that I probably need to address, especially if it was something that burned me up occupationally or whatever. It's probably something I need to address with myself. Why did that burn me up? So it's not too much. I kind of like, oh, that was a great point, man. I'm glad you questioned me on that. I'm glad I'm glad you're trying to fact check me and stuff like that. Like, not in a way like where some person's like, this dude's like, I'm trying to bust this dude's bubble or I'm trying to knock him off his pedestal. I like those type of like that, you can call it adversity, but I think it's a lesson in all that and all those things, more so about yourself.
You may not be aware of this, but I think we just became besties. So
No, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. We're gonna have to like be social media friends and everything after this. Okay.
I'm down. I am down.
So last question. I am really looking forward to your answer on this because I already love your philosophy. How are you changing the world?
How am I changing the world? That is a good question. And so I'm in the midst, as of right now, has nothing to do with my occupation. I'm in the midst of right now of writing a children's book.
Tell me more.
I have to. Now that we're live, what's this going? So I grew up in a family. My father was absent. So when I became a dad and a husband, I didn't know how to do either. Didn't know how to be a dad. It didn't know how to be a husband because I didn't have her. My mom raised me, single woman. She did the best she can, and I love her for it. But I just didn't know how. And so a lot of my learning was through some hard conversations with my wife and through some awkward moments with my kids of trying to figure things out, which I think I still have much more room to learn, and I'm okay with that. But the book I'm writing is a depiction of our family, but I wrote it for those individuals, like men specifically, that are like me, that didn't have a father, but just like a step-by-step, what does a daily routine look like? And this is through the eyes of my 5-year-old. So what does a daily routine look like with dad in the house? Like, dad picks me up and he hugs me and kisses me and tells me I love me. Dad, when we brush our teeth, we do strongman poses in the mirror. Dad helps me. He allows me to help him cook. He allows me to help him fix things. I have my own tool belts, like things that I wish I would have known or somebody could have told me about before I came to dad, because I literally had to figure these things out on my own. So it's a really cool, playful, warm way to get step by step, and not instructions, because you can do this thing, AKA dad, however you want. But if you don't know anything, you'd be like, all right, this dude said he picks his kid up and he kisses him, even if it's a boy or a girl. Perfect. This dude said he helps him brush his teeth. Perfect. This dude said he reads books to his kid. Perfect. And so that's what my children book is going to be about. But it's just basically a day in the life of my 5-year-old and how I interact with him.
I cannot wait. When is it being published?
So I'm in the midst of comparing 2 illustrators right now. So I'm waiting on the final quote, because books cost money. For those listeners, if you didn't know, it costs change. You can't go into this thing broke. You got to have a little bit of change in your pocket. So I'm right now comparing between 2 illustrators and making sure the price is right for me, but I will let you know. So it's, I got some to be determined to throw at you right now.
So exciting. Thank you for sharing that. And funny side story, my guest, Katie Hirsch, it was almost a year ago. I can't come up with the episode number in my head right now, but my main engineer at my station was
Uh-huh.
drawing these really funny vegetables on the dry erase board with like these masks, like bandit masks. So there'd be
Yeah.
like a red pepper with a bandit mask and an eggplant or whatever. And she said she wanted to write a book called Sneaky Veggies. And this never came to
Oh,
fruition, but I think I need to get them back on it.
she should. Or you said it was a guy. It was a girl or guy.
Katie Hirsch is the one that
Katie
wanted to write it. And Joe Barnes, one of my work besties, was drawing those. I'll send you these pictures. They're so funny.
Dude, they need to finish it. They need to make it happen.
They do. They
That
do.
sounds super cool.
Yeah. Great book for children. Okay.
Yeah.
We already went down a rabbit hole, but let's dig ourselves back out. And I want to hear how you got to South Metro Fire. So wherever you want to start in sort of your career or sports or whatever you were doing, what made you say one day, I'm going to apply for that job?
Ooh. So this role was kind of serendipitous. Like, so it was, I'm sorry, I've been here at South Metro going on 4 years now. And I wasn't aware. So as a strength, I was more sports. So before here, I was at the University of Michigan. And I was on the Olympic side, and my primary sports was men's soccer and men's lacrosse. And then, so fast forward, pandemic happens. I'm just like, man, dude, we're being really exposed on the sports side as far as like, obviously at the collegiate level, right? Like, hey, you got to work from home. We have to cut pay, all those things like that. So it's like, man, maybe it's time for me to switch roles. So I knew about tactical force, like military, and for the most part, military. I'm not going to give you any smoke. I just only knew that tacticals for military. Had no idea that it was, occupied for first responders or it's more specifically for fire service. So called a buddy of mine that also worked at Michigan with me, but he had left since then. I knew he went to Colorado, which that's where we are, folks. We're in Colorado, in Denver metropolitan area. And I knew he went to, but I didn't know what he did exactly. But so I called him just to check in on him during the pandemic. Like, hey, man, I'm just checking in, dude. How's life? Making sure you're good to go. And he was just like, so funny, man. I was just thinking about you. We have a position opening at our fire service here at South Metro Fire and Rescue here in Colorado, being a strength coach. I was just like, wait a minute, hold up. Like, say it again. Like, what are we doing? And he was just like, and he called and he broke down like what his day in his life looks like here at South Metro. And he was just like, at the long story short, he was like, dude, we're doing the body's the body, right? Kinesis. He's just like, it's just a different population. I was just like, and you're telling me I don't have to travel? And you're telling me that I don't have to work holidays? I was just like, and I was immediately like, you know what? And then also for the greater good of, of giving, not giving back because I am receiving a paycheck, but it's like, oh man, I'm helping people who are serving others. I'm helping those individuals get better to serve others. And I was like, that's super cool. Like I can hang my hat on something like that. If you wanna hang out with some folks that are doing some good in the world, AKA your local community, and do what you love to do. I was just like, dude, that's a win. Like, man, like what do I need to do? Where's the app? Let me fill out the application for this thing. And so that's how I kind of found this, and it was, again, that's why I say serendipitous, because I just kind of lucked upon it. Again, I'm faith-based. I was like, it was an absolute blessing. Let's just say that.
Well, and it's very interesting because there's two things at work here. The first thing is you didn't really know that there were roles for public safety.
Did not
know. And you had a family that was willing to relocate. That's amazing.
Oh, I probably should have said that. My wife would be like, you need to make sure you tell her I was on board for all of this.
What is your wife's name?
My wife's name is Megan.
Okay,
Megan with the H. Every time you say a person named that's Megan, like with the H or no H? So Megan with the H.
Megan with an H. Big fan. You and I are going to need to be besties too. Call you later, sweetheart. Okay.
That's awesome.
All right. So you've been at South Metro Fire for almost 4 years now, or 4 total?
So almost 4. Here in May of 2024, I'll be 4 years.
Okay. How has your job position evolved? Or maybe it hasn't. Maybe it's just been the same since you got there. But how has it evolved if it has evolved?
Yeah, so here at South Metro, they were prior to me getting here, they were already progressive, thanks to leadership. So a huge shout out to Chief Baker, our fire chief, Robert Baker. He's a great advocate for what we have and what we're blessed to have here at South Metro, as far as like the wellness department underneath the HPO kind of wheel. We're the wellness cog. But he was behind. He was, him and him getting with the union and making sure that they have fitness standards that, that goes along with the NFPA, the 1500s all the way through 1583. But he was along with this, like the genesis of what this process has. So first of all, I want to make sure I give that credit out there. And Chris Macklin probably talked about it a lot too. But that being said, so a lot of the groundwork was already done when I got here, but we're still kind of trailblazing as far as how robust we're doing things underneath the wellness wheel, right? So like, as far as, we have our own MD, Dr. Kerry Burns, and then we have 3 strength coaches. So I'm one of 3 of the strength coaches. I got Chris Sheckler and we got Eddie Yoon, and they kind of divide us amongst, we have 3 shifts here. So they kind of divide A through C through shifts. So that these guys were already here, and they had laid some great foundation of the biggest piece is as an infrastructure for success when it comes to overall health and wellness, if that makes any sense. They created a great groundwork. I came in, dude. I was just the dude that just came in, and I was just like, hey man, where do you need me? So I can't give too much credit to myself, but since I've been here, how we've grown is we kind of solidified more of those policies, because if you know firefighters, you guys are policy based, man. Like, man, per policy, bro, it says I get paid this, and so we did a great job. They did a great job of laying the foundation, but it was cool to kind of be in on a part of that policy process when we had to kind of revise the policy as far as like, what does it look like when you work out on duty? What does it look like? What happens if we have a punitive test, a VO2 max test? What does it look like if you don't do well on that test? What is that next process to it? We solidified a lot of that since we've been here, which kind of gave us, I guess, more backbone, and a little bit, it kind of like woven us into into this department of like, we're not just to add on some contractor, or just like, hey man, like we come in and we test you, we give you workouts. It's like, no man, we're here to educate you. We're here to put you in a better position to be a better firefighter. We hope, and to make sure longevity wise, you live a long, healthy life when you retire with a pocket full of money. And so that growth since I've been here has been super cool to solidify policies and kind of be accepted as like an honorary, like, hey man, you're a part of us type ordeal.
So the name Chief Baker keeps coming up, and I had the honor to actually meet him. I spoke at a women's summit last May that you guys hosted. Super fun. So I got to meet him briefly. But you know what? It didn't occur to me when I was talking to Chris or Kelsey. What do you think the Vegas odds are of me getting him on the podcast?
Dude, I would tell you right now, dude, if you would dump all your money to your side of your favor, you would be a wealthy woman, because that dude is a ball of knowledge and super approachable and loves to talk about what he has here at South Metro. So
writing a note to myself right now.
And tell him Coach TG sent you, and then it's for sure happening. I don't have that much clout. I'm kidding. I really don't have that much clout. But just tell him, like, who's been on it already, and I guarantee you have no problems with it.
Absolutely. We're still working on Sophie. Kelsey was going to reach out to Sophie, so I'm crossing my fingers that we'll get Sophie.
That'd be a treat too. She's amazing.
She's cool. I met her briefly again at that seminar. Tommy, you mentioned when you were speaking just now, you said, what does it look like if someone doesn't pass something? What does it look like X, Y, and Z? Are you able to talk about what does it look like if someone doesn't pass their, say, VO2 max testing?
Yeah. And so, it's safe because we're pretty transparent. We were at the Science to Alliance conference in Tucson.
So jealous.
Oh my gosh. So that was my first, like, I guess, fire, like more of that tactical side. It was more leaned towards like health and wellness. So it wasn't like a true fire, like, attack and suppression type conference. It was more favoring our, like, what we do here at wellness. So it was super cool to talk about what we have versus what other departments don't have or what they're trying to accomplish and how they're getting and working with it and all. But anyway, long story short, back to your question. So we have we have a punitive a physical test that we do every year, which is our METS test. We do it for not only for incumbents, but we also do it for candidates. We also do it for our rookies. So everybody has to do this. We do it annually. Now, that being said, we have a standard. So it goes in accordance to the NFPA 1582. We like the idea of like a 12 MET standard for 12 METs, VO2, 42 milliliters per kilogram per minute. That's what we like. What we have here is we have a 10. We have a 10. So if you get a 10 MET, aka 35, then nothing happens. You can stay online. We consult with you as just strength and conditioning coaches. Like, hey, in the ideal world, we would love to have you 12 plus. And this is why, and this is the research backing why we would love to have you at 12 plus. Everybody gets it. Everybody's on board with that. Now, if you do not meet that 10, we love you at 12. Remember, that's the expected. We love you at 12. If you don't get that 10, we do have a safety net for you that allows us to have a process we call the category B. It's a rehab process. Now, that process, you are taken offline. You are taken offline, and then you'll be hanging out, and I know firefighters don't like this part. They have to work a normal 40-hour work week, which are just like, no,
the worst.
Like, you people out there working 40-hour work weeks, this is terrible. But they do get to so they do get time with us every single day. They get to hang out with their strength and conditioning coach and pertaining to their shift. It doesn't matter. Our rehab process is across the board. So whether you're on an A shift or a B shift or a C shift, across the board, we approach this the same way. Now, according to that, also within that, we also have you set up where you'll meet with wellness to see if there's any underlying issues that are going on prior. Like, is there a reason outside of you not being fit enough or conditioned enough to pass this test? So we always check that first, and then they send you over to us and say, like, honestly, yeah, this dude was just kind of in a slump. He had a rough year. He didn't work out as much, so he got below a 10. At that point, we'll address that. But if it is some sort of underlying issue, whether it be whatever it may be, then they will see Dr. Burns and they will get that issue addressed. And then when they're safe enough and ready to come and hang out with us, then we will go ahead and get them to the next fittest level. They could spend up to almost 6 months with us based on chief approval, all that stuff like that. But for the most part, they're with us for 4 weeks. And they have a certain amount of time. They're with us every single day, Monday through Friday, to move that fitness needle to get them to be 10 above. And so that's a process that I think is infrastructure that I think that if you're going to have some sort of punitive standard, that you have to have an infrastructure to support and not just say like, hey, man, it is what it is. You didn't get your 10, you're done. Or you get some sort of slap on the wrist as far as pay, you decrease whatever, how you guys do your pay or how your rankings. That's not fair, but create an infrastructure that allows them to say, okay, this is what happens. And during this process, we tackle a lot of different things. You find out more about these individuals, about like their lifestyles, and probably like, oh, like, so you don't need this. You need more of this body weight band. You need to spend more time in zone 2. And you find out these things. Otherwise, you just don't know because you just kicked them to the curb and told them to figure it out. Some of these people are just lacking knowledge of how to be better fit, and so our job is to educate them and also get you fit. And plus, I think those people learn a lot about wellness in general because they spend more time with wellness since they're in this category B process. And then I think they grow an appreciation for what we do here as professionals and subject matter experts. And they're just like, you guys are the coolest. So by the end of the 4 weeks, they're just like our best friends ever. They come to all of our classes and they're like, yeah, dude, they're like our biggest advocate. But, at first they're just like, you're like, oh man, here you go. You're all grumpy the first day. You don't want to be here. We get it. 40-hour work week. So yeah, so we have an infrastructure that allows individuals to still thrive, even if they didn't get that 10 MET standard that we require annually.
You said something, you probably said it 4 or 5 times, and I love the word infrastructure. That is where most departments fail when they try to put fit for duty in.
No.
You cannot, I'm sorry,
Yes.
You cannot expect a firefighter to know everything they need to know about nutrition, training,
Yes.
sleep, wellness, mental health. You can't expect it.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, infrastructure, people. It requires it. Question.
Yes.
Little lead in.
Okay.
Recently, once in a while on social media, I post this thing. It's called "Shit My Firefighters Say." It's just quotes. It's quotes that I've gathered up, in the last 20 years. And I posted one not too long ago, which was a firefighter on the treadmill doing the gherkin protocol at that awful pace where it's like 4.5 miles an hour walking and like 4 on the incline. And he basically just said, whoever came up with this speed and incline is like, I hate them, whatever. It was a quote. But someone messaged me and they said, are you aware that the gherkin protocol overestimates VO2 max? And I was like, yeah, I'm aware. But also, most fire departments don't have in place, I should have used your word, the infrastructure to have a metabolic cart assessment of their people. Yeah. I am assuming you are testing VO2 max on a metabolic cart. Am I correct?
So we use a cardio coach. Yeah, so we're doing a direct measurement versus an indirect measurement. Indirect, aka a good educated based on the algorithm, whatever you put in your treadmill, and it spits out a number at you. Probably what these guys are getting, which it overestimates for the guy who says, I was at 18 METs. And you're just like,
no, you weren't.
Okay. Yeah. I whatever makes you feel great. So we do direct measurement. Yes.
Okay. So can you dive in just a little bit deeper, talking about the indirect measurement, the estimation via algorithm versus we are actually getting the direct measurement? Talk to my firefighters about that.
So if any fire service or any fire department that says like, hey, I want to, so let's make sure I want to do a volunteer fitness standard versus a punitive fitness standard. And that was the big talk at the conference in Tucson I referred to earlier. So that being said, if you say, hey, something's going to be volunteered, like, then you can go with a more indirect measurement. You can do a step test. You can do a pack test, it's several different tests that you can have. You can do we call it a Cooper's test. On the treadmill where you go for 12 minutes, and then they have really good research and support and a bunch of support around the Coopers. That's more of an indirect measurement where we're saying like, hey, you fall underneath this category somewhere, and we'll give you an average or good or great or best or whatever. And that's an indirect measurement where we're not measuring CO2, we're blowing out directly as you're actually performing the task. So if you have a volunteer based and you have an indirect measurement test that you would like to do, have at it. At least you have something. And we tell people like, dude, if you have something and you have a great participation rate, go for it. Keep it going, and that's okay. But when you say we have a punitive fitness standard, again, we're talking about firefighters. I tell you what, if these guys don't know about what's happening in politics, which they do, they know every policy that is put out. They know it front to back. They'll tell you where it's gray. They'll tell you where it's concrete. And so if you tell, which a punitive fitness standard is a threat towards their livelihood. It's a threat to what they love, and it pulls on emotions a lot. So what Chief Baker was a part of the deal with the union was just like, hey, if you're going to do this, let's make sure you create the right infrastructure, but also let's make sure we get direct measurement to be accurate as possible. And so that's why they went with, and it's like, people get into the weeds about, I'm not a marathon runner. I don't have listen.
Me either, kiddo. Me either.
I was just like, guys, we're not questioning your firefighter ability. We're questioning cardiovascularly. We want to make sure you're fit enough to do this job effective enough where you're not a risk nor to yourself nor to your crew. So it has nothing to do about your skills. I have no doubt that you can suppress and attack fires, my brother. But listen, this is what we're measuring, and we want to do it direct, especially if we're going to ask you, or if we're going to put you in a position where you can't be pulled offline, still get paid. Nothing's happening to your pay, but we want to make sure you get a direct measurement that is, that is backed with science. Backed with science and evidence to support it. And also we get our cardio coaches, we get them serviced every single year because we run about close to 700 tests on them a year. So we get them serviced. We want to make sure nobody is in a position where they can question their own physical fitness, nor they can question the validity of the test we're doing. And so that's the difference of, like, if you're going to have a punitive fitness standard, whatever it may be, you need to make sure you have some sort of science backing your standards that you require from this punitive test, and making sure you have the infrastructure to support those who might fall below it. So.
Can I just get just one? Amen. Let's hear it.
Amen.
Amen. I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much, because Absolutely. I think that is something that firefighters struggle with. They don't love the fitness testing. And the other thing they struggle with is when the person giving the fitness testing can't explain to them accurately, what does this mean? What do my results? So I'm so glad. I'm so glad you're doing that. Yeah. I love it.
I'm grateful for where I am to allow us to do that. So no credit to me.
No credit to you, but okay. I hear you. All right. Let's switch gears a little bit, because I want to know what is your philosophy on strength and conditioning as it relates to training your population. So, like, what does it look like, feel like, taste like to work with you?
So, that's a great question.
Ooh, thank you. Right. I'm patting my back, patting it. Okay, continue.
Girl. So what is it like to work with us in this particular population? So we have to, and again, for listeners who maybe are just jumping on and you don't know much, you have to understand that firefighters, again, you would know best than that firefighters are in the most extreme conditions. So it's just like if you were in sport, talking to my strength coaches out there, if you were in sport, what are the demands of the sport? What is the demands of the occupation? We just literally just changed the words. Like, what's the demands of the sport? What's the biggest risk factors? What's, like, if you ask those things for sport, you would do your same needs analysis for the fire service, for our population. And so you would say, all right, when I came, I'm doing my research. I'm just like, man, like, so cardiovascular disease is a real thing. Like, these guys are checking out. When I say checking out, I mean, it's a fatality, or these guys are checking out for this. So it's like, okay, so that's big on the need analysis. Also, these dudes have a lot of, like, joint, like, restriction injuries, and I was just like, well, these dudes are in PPE that are 50 plus pounds. So I was just like, so needless to say, that's how I approach it. And that's how I approached it being here. But working with us, we make sure we are attacking. First, we love the idea of, can you movement competency? Can you move? Or how is our basic movement patterns? Like, the squats, the hinges, all those things, dude, I tell you what, you guys are in on my ride-alongs, I'm just like, this is an awkward spot to be in, to pick up this lady on the side of the bathroom next to the toilet. I was like, dude.
Why are they always lodged between the toilet and the tub? Why?
I'm just like, Mrs. Jenkins, what happened here? It's like, who is the civilian talking to me? I'm just like, I'm just interested to figure out, how did you fall here?
How did you get here? How did you get here?
And so, and again, going back to, so just movement, like, competency. How well do you move? What are our limitations? Is this more ankle, hip, knee, shoulder? So attacking those movements, like, hey, let's just teach you to move better. If I could teach you to move well without PPE and restrictive gear, then with that gear, you should be able to move a little bit better if you get your gear size right. That's the whole thing too.
Oh gosh, please.
Come on, we're preaching right now. We're preaching. This might as well be a church service right now.
When do the hymns come in? Because I can sing, just saying. Okay. Back to, I'm sorry, make sure your gear fits. I actually did a whole post on this. Girl, you're not clumsy. Your shit doesn't fit.
I like it. Your shit don't fit, girl.
Your shit don't fit, girl. Okay. Anyway, continue.
And so if they can move better, which would hopefully mitigate some of those movement issues and movement injuries that happen. And okay, that's cool. That's one thing. And then obviously we just touched on a little bit about VO2, just making sure our cardiovascular health is what the best we can have it. Now, it's other factors in there. You already know metabolic risk factors and what goes along with this fire service as far as obesity, high blood pressure, and it's a lot of contributors. Sleep, and we can go down the rabbit holes with all this stuff like that. But as far as working with us, we just want to say, okay, can you move better? Okay. How about like overall fitness? And then we have obviously our standards. And then we talk about how to get them, educate them at a point where they say, hey, let's educate you to a point where you at your stations, all of our stations have fitness equipment and a lot of people and departments have. We educate them. Basically, we call it teaching them how to fish. Right? It's like, hey, this is why you should do this, and this is why you should program an exercise selection, and how you should, do we call the wave, like the undulating approach, right? So like, hey, every day doesn't have to be high intensity. Let's spend time in zone 2. Let's spend time with strength. Let's spend time with strength endurance, and teaching them why all of those factors are important to not just for them, but for what they're doing and how it's applicable to their job, right? And so education is big. And so if you're working with me, not only will you get a workout in, but we're gonna teach some stuff today, and we're gonna learn some stuff. And so that's in a nutshell, I would have to say, if you're hanging out with me, we're going to make sure you know why we're doing what we're doing. And if you want to question that, I got a bunch of black and whites, AKA research to back it up. And I love what I do, even more importantly. So I got a lot of passion. So people are like, man, you talk a lot about, like you make it sound like it's so. I'm just like, yeah, dude, because I love this stuff and it's important. Get with it.
Yeah, get with it. And I don't know this for sure, but I'm guessing that because of the way you communicate with your firefighters that are working with you, those firefighters in turn are talking with their megaphone to their coworkers about how great it is to work with you.
I'm terrible at this. And as you can probably figure out, I suck at taking compliments. But that being said, I tell you what, these dudes, if you're good people recognize great people, right? And great people recognize good people. And so that means if you got a person that knows their stuff and that's passionate about their stuff, which I think I am, the word does spread. So it is super cool. I do have, underneath I'm the C shift guy. I have A through C. I'm the C shift guy. And we're just over 200 firefighters per coach on each shift. And so and I do get a pretty good inquiry in my box to, hey man, I wanted to talk to you about, I heard you talk to so-and-so about, and I'm just like, yeah, dude, absolutely. Let's talk about it. And they want to kind of gain your trust and which is fair. Absolutely fair. They want to gain your trust. And since the 4 years I've done that, I think I got a good rapport with just overall with my guys and specifically with the department. Like, hey man, these guys, strength coaches, not just me, but the other guys too. I mean, they love what they do and they know what they're talking about. So just give them a conversation. And after that, man, once you talk to them, you're like, all right, you kind of know what's going on. You get it. And so after that, when you invite us to the dinner table, man, it's after we're like best friends. Like if you're like, hey, come and eat with us. I'm just like, heck yeah.
Will there be protein? Well, I teach a class to strength and conditioning coaches, dietitians, athletic trainers, physical therapists. And what I tell them, the class is basically like, how do you break into the fire service? How do you learn the culture? How do you make your own opportunity? But I tell them, you best believe those firefighters are going to be fact checking you.
Yes.
Fact checking.
Yes.
So you got to know your stuff, but also you have to operate on nuanced. Everything is nuanced.
Yes.
And you can't say it depends to everything, but it kind of does depend. So, oof. All right.
It is. You're exactly right.
Yeah, this is an amazing conversation. And now, okay, so I already talked to Chris. I already talked to Kelsey, the dietitian. And again, I said, hopefully going to get to talk to Sophie, hopefully the chief, because you're going to put in a good word for me.
I got your
back.
back.
But you got me. How does strength and conditioning go about interfacing with medical, dietitian, mental health, all of those things? Like, you get a new quote unquote, I'll call it a patient, but it's probably not a patient. It's an injured firefighter. You get a new injured firefighter coming through the pipeline. How do all of those things, puzzle pieces, fit together?
Yeah, that's a great question, because if they came through the pipeline, they came through for, it could be an array of reasons, first of all. But I think Chris Macklin, Chief Baker, and our division chief that's over human performance and optimization, Andy Powell, and then Dr. Kerry Burns. I tell you what, like with this HPO model, so first of all, the body mind is it all works together. So don't come to me and say, hey, I'm having issues with my body, which plays on my mind. Hey, I'm having issues with my mind, which plays on my body. That's all one. So it's no type of like yes, it's different SMEs that can approach different methodologies to help you with each of those things. But at the end of the day, if they came through that pipeline, what you referenced, then they got issues going on with all of those. Because first of all, you just told that person they can't do what they love. And so right now we're already talking about that plays on you, right? So that plays on anybody. It's like if you identify with a lot of these guys, they and that's why I get I can go on and on. When you start identify with one particular thing and that identity is threatened or taken from you, trust me, it has a play on your psyche. So we do have underneath our HPO model, we have something that can attack cognitive. Now, if that person came through more specifically due to an injury, which also plays on you because you're offline. So now, that being said, our wellness, aka our clinical side, our clinicians with our ATCs, we got PTs, obviously Dr. Burns. So they handle what needs to be, whatever the injury is at hand. They'll take care of that. They'll help you with that. And as a strength coaches, we work alongside, but they kind of release you to us. And then we'll work side by side for a little bit, but more so they want to make sure you're in a spot enough or strong enough or healthy enough to make sure you can hang out with the strength coaches to get you back to, when they say return to play, we call it return to work. I'm trying to, for all those strength coaches out here, they're just like, man, what is he talking about? Return to work. Yeah, man, you go to work, you go play, man. Same thing. It's all the same thing.
Same thing.
But and then just to answer your question, we attack all of those facets when that individual comes offline, because that person needs to get with our dietitian, Kelsey, because that person everything, what you consume, process how you feel, and what you feel plays on your mind. So it's nothing separate. So that's why I try to tell people, like, it's nothing separate. So you do have meetings with all of us, and we figure out where we play in this particular situation for this particular individual, which can look completely different for everybody, and who has more weight in this conversation than others. Like if this person is dialed in nutritionally, they don't need to talk to Kelsey as much, but this person, something about has an ugly hatred relationship against fitness. And then it's our job or my job to make sure I break down that barrier between you and the ugly fitness. And whatever, and the same thing, obviously, with on the clinical side. If it's like you've been nurturing this shoulder for the last 5 years, man, like we need to get this addressed. What is going on? And so you will break down that barrier, be like, but it's faux pas. Like, man, I got to go see the athletic trainers about my shoulder. They think it's like a kind of like a knock on who they are. But that culture is shifting. It is shifting. People, especially since we have more firefighters that are ex-athletes, they understand the idea of hanging out in the trainer's room. They know the benefits like that comes behind it. But again, I have to use this word again, infrastructure with what we have, allowing these guys, for putting us in place to help them, those individuals, in what they need specifically is what's been set up with the HPO model.
And you know, even if your diet is on point, why would you not want to hang out with Kelsey all the time anyway? Like, she's so fun.
That's an amen. That is an amen moment.
Okay, so I want to ask you, my original question was going to be, do you have a delivery method? I use Train Heroic to deliver my programming to firefighters. Do you have a delivery method? Yeah, let's just stick with that. Do you have a delivery method that you use to give programming?
So our force multiplier is we have our own wellness website, which has all of our disciplines, all of our SMEs in our disciplines, where you can click on each tab. Now, for specific for strength and conditioning, when you click on our tab, you're able to not just get an array of, there's so many workouts that they can choose from, and we have them neatly and organized out thanks to Eddie Yoon, one of the other strength coaches. We have it down from if you're looking for hypertrophy, muscular endurance, body weight, bands, VO2 prep, bike VO2 prep. We have, it's all categories out with a plethora of workouts that we dump into it on a weekly basis. Now, so that's when, and you can also talk about your equipment. Like, and we have a standard equipment list for every station, but on that same tab, underneath strength and conditioning, it's like, hey, our heaviest dumbbell, our hundreds fell off or whatever, And so we have, our force multiplier is, long story short, is our wellness website, where you can get to every one of discipline and get the answers to the questions you have.
Got it. And those 100-pound dumbbells, they're only broken because I was curling them.
Yes. With my left hand, saying if you were right dominant.
In the squat rack. So I can go, if I'm a South Metro Fire employee, I can go onto your website and I can pick a workout for hypertrophy or whatever. But let's just say I feel like I'm a special snowflake.
Yes.
And I want customized programming. Is that something I can get from you?
You sure can. Now, you sure can. Now, what we try to do is so let's get behind your why of coming, right?
Yes.
Let's dig deep. That's why sometimes they don't like coming, because, like, man, you try to get all philosophical on us.
Do not get philosophical.
I was like, listen, I just want to know why do you need a different workout? Your body is a body, right? Anyway, long story short, they could. Now, typically for those specialty workouts or those customized workouts, those are for individuals. They're for each one. If every company came, obviously we would have a surplus of programming we have to do, which would kind of be a little bit of a bandwidth stiller if you don't like, hey man, we got stuff. But that being said, if an individual came, it's for one or two reasons. They came per wellness because they have some sort of limitation and they need a customized workout. This is like, hey, this person has a left shoulder injury, so they're only working with 3 limbs and a torso. Perfect. Funny thing about it is, on the website, we have workouts that are for
3 limbs and a torso?
3 limbs and a torso. But if that person with the 3 limbs and the torso also had something else going on where they really had to get granular with a specific workout, perfect. We will make sure we get you the workout you need. Secondly, we got some beasts, man, here at South Metro that has proven competency with some of the workouts that we have on our website. And they want to get in there, and those individuals that are dialed in. You just like, this dude's asking the right questions, or this gal is asking the right questions. And they're just like, I want to do, like, when I jump off the rig, sometimes I land funky. So I went on, I was like, ooh, you talk about landing mechanics and PPE gear. And I was like, so like little things like that, that's where you say, all right, this is what these, and those where sometimes you can kind of get into a customized snowflake program. If you, according to my gal Zap, like, you can get to one of those programs. Yeah.
I kind of like the Dan John philosophy. Like, everyone needs push, pull, hinge, squat, and carry heavy stuff.
And that's, for the most part, that's what we do.
But what if I'm a grandmother? Yes, same. What if I'm a football player? Yes, same.
Yes, amen.
Well, Tommy, I want to be respectful of your time, so I'm going to start winding down. This is a choose your own adventure. We have 2 ways we could go. Yes. First way is there a rabbit hole that we should have hopped into that we didn't? Ooh. Or, wait, here's your other one. Do you have some parting words of advice for all of the firefighter listeners and administrations out there. You have to choose the adventure. Choose wisely.
You just have to choose one?
No, you can choose both. I don't care.
Okay, I'm about to say, don't do me like that. Such restrictions.
You can choose both.
I won't keep you long. If you have a program or a department out there that's looking to start a program, I strongly urge you to make sure you start in your recruit academies.
Oh, so good. Tell me more.
Oh, you told me I don't have time.
Dude, we have all the time in the world. Go.
At the end of the day, it's the rate of attrition, right? So let's think about this. If I start my youngins, AKA my recruits, with the proper and appropriate moving competency and the education to know how to fish and when to fish and to when to go to wellness and what's the difference between an injury and a boo-boo or
and an owie. I call it an owie.
Oh my gosh. If you start there, and if you're bringing in 40 bodies a year and you only got 600, if you give it 5 years, folks, you got an entire entity where you did a pedagogy approach. You took it and you started from the ground, and every academy that came through had your education, had your movement competency, had your knowledge that you can elicit and solicit into those stations. You can have obviously you're going to have some individuals in there just like, man, the hell with Coach TG and all of their philosophies. But for the most part, those individuals there, you will have a mass majority of individuals that understand the why behind what we're doing here at Wellness. But it starts at your academies. That's what we can go further, but that's where it's at. Start with
no. Louder for the folks in back and go further. This is my favorite topic. Academies.
And just like so, and I get it, right? And I don't know the bandwidth of so every department's different. I don't know the bandwidth of what the cadre, aka the cadets who teach I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart, but the cadre who's teaching you how to do firefighter skills, right? You find that so important, and we agree that right now you're in this honeymoon phase. You just want to be a firefighter all day long. But that being said, we have to have a foundation to support you being a great firefighter. And our department here, it is mandatory that they see us all 5 days at the top of each morning here at Academy. So not only we can educate, but we can also put these guys in the best position before they go to the drill ground, before they go to the class. Obviously, we want to make sure their movement competency-wise is good. We want to make sure they can resist and go against resistance and do all those cool things. But at the end of the day, fitness, cognitively, you're sitting in the classroom all day. You already worked out. Boom. Ready? You're on fire and ready to soak up as much firefighter knowledge you're ready to soak up. Secondly, we talk a lot about movement manipulation as far as like tissue prep and tissue manipulation. Like, hey, dude, you're getting your handed to you on the drill ground. Today is a day we're going to go low threshold. We're just going to take you in low modalities. We're going to foam roll the hell out of your body today. And you're going to love us for it. And we get to do those things. All those things happen in Academy where you teach it. And when they get broke off from a 24-hour shift and they know on that going into that next day of a 48, they say, today, I'm just going to break it. I'm going to slow it down. I'm going to use this tissue manipulation. I'm just going to foam roll out. I'm going to go mobility. I'm just going to go make sure I do more yoga, whatever it may be. All those things are taught because sometimes if you just don't know, you just don't know. We teach that here in Academy. We're teaching our firefighters how to fish, and it starts in Academy. Yes, and then obviously we have incumbents that are like, hey, I do my own thing. Great, but if you started in Academy, man, you can have a really cool mass majority of your individuals that are bought into what you're preaching.
I think your model is crucial for recruitment and retention. And nobody's listening yet. But they need to.
Amen.
Because we have this assumption that if you are going into this career, if you are trying to be a firefighter, you must be mentally strong, physically strong, and know what the hell you're doing.
Mythbuster.
These people are just trying to help other people and they don't know what they're doing.
Preach.
My friend Mo works in professional baseball. She's a dietitian and she's like, those professional baseball players, for the most part, have no idea what to eat. No idea.
I can imagine.
Same with firefighters. They
I
don't
agree.
know about mobility. They don't know about down regulating and eating and
Yes. See, I told you. See, I struck a nerve right there. See, this is what I'm talking about. We could talk for hours.
We could. And I already told Kelsey, she's coming back for a part 2, part 3, part 4. So we'll just schedule you for another part.
That's awesome.
But I have a really important question. When people think of me, they think of 2 things: sleep education and dogs. And so I always want to talk about dogs.
Yes.
Tommy, does your family have a dog?
We have 2.
Tell me more.
Yes, and I have to ask you about yours as well. We have a Doberman. He's oh my gosh, he's a cream Doberman. He's just over 100 pounds. He's a tall, scrappy fella. Oh my gosh, he's my favorite. But he talks a lot. Almost too much. Like, you talk too much. But he is my buddy. And then we have a Maltese, a Maltese and a Poodle mix.
Okay.
She's our little lap dog. She's 14. Our Doberman, he's 5. My 14-year-old. I tell you what, this Maltese, her name is Chi-Chi.
Chi-Chi.
Oh my gosh. I've never seen an old lady so scrappy. When I tell you what, she hits the stairs she runs the stairs faster than my 5-year-old son. And whether she's running from something or running to something, and she still jumps on the couch. And I'm just like, we're every bit of 16-inch sit down, she's still popping up there. I'm just like, man, if I had, and I don't think we did anything super special. Maybe our environment is super loving, which makes you want to live longer. Maybe that's it. Her food is standard. It's not like we're doing anything super special. She has her annual checks, but I'm just like, dang girl, how old you gonna get? And but 2 dogs. So Chi-Chi, and then that's the Maltese, and then we have Achilles, which is the Doberman, and he's a ball of energy that loves to talk.
Achilles. I love that.
Because he looks so strong. I have to show you pictures later. Tell me about your dogs. How many dogs do you have?
I have 0 dogs. Okay.
What?
I have a million virtual dog friends.
Boom.
That I make every single day. I do daily dose of dog whenever possible on my Instagram, taking pictures with dogs, loving on the dogs. But I don't have one because I live alone and I'm gone for a absolute minimum of 26 hours.
Yeah.
So
that does make it tough.
In retirement, maybe I will get a dog, but man, I love them.
Yeah, they're super cool. I bet you will. You will get a dog. But you're right. That is kind of like pulling them into the world of that atypical schedule. That's rough. I get it.
But oh my gosh, I just, that old Bugs Bunny cartoon where I love you and whatever, and call you my little bunny rabbit, and the whatever struggling to get away. That's me. I'm loving all of the dogs. So
that's awesome.
Well, Tommy, this has been a fantastic conversation, and I'm already inviting you back for part 2 because we got to talk more.
I accept your invite.
Okay, awesome. And also, we're both going to hit up Chief Baker at some point to get him on. So I think, this has been a fantastic conversation, and I think that we can just pretty much drop the mic, say amen.
Amen, listeners.
Amen. And AZ and TG are officially, we are officially out.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you, Annette.